Hey guys, what's going on today? Bojo here, back for some more news on NHL 16, and today I got a pretty cool video to show you guys. Continuing along with our E3 coverage of NHL 16, we were lucky enough to get a GameSpot live stream interview with Sean Ramjink-Sig and Ben Ross, both of which who work for EA Sports NHL. It was a pretty long interview, but they just talked about NHL 16, all the game modes, features, and all that fun stuff you guys can expect to see in the interview. So it's a pretty long one, about 25-30 minutes long. So I'm just going to play that interview for you guys, and I hope you enjoy. So remember to leave a like, subscribe as always, guys, and I'll see you next time for another video of mine. Hope you guys enjoy.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to GameSpot Cross Kind of Funny. My name is Colin Moriarty, our resident hockey nerd, of course, and I'm here with Rammer from EA Sports. Thank you as always for joining us. We appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having us.
Rammer, and you were going to make a grand introduction here.
Well, the plan was for me to be up here alone, but I brought Ben Ross,
Yep.
gameplay and presentation producer, also overseeing some of the EA Sports Hockey League stuff, which I'm sure we're going to get into.
Awesome, absolutely.
Also working really, really close with our fans, so I figured get them up here and let them talk to the people.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us as well.
Oh, really happy to be here.
We'll do our normal tradition of talking about the Islanders for 10-15 minutes, and then we'll get into the actual game you guys are working. I'm only kidding. NHL 16. As you were saying, it's unbelievable. You know, I started playing the game, NHL 93, NHL PA 93, I think it was on Genesis.
Yep.
We're getting old. And now here we are in NHL 16.
We are getting old.
Yeah, well, you've been working on the series for a very long time.
Well, I think 09 was my first one, so yeah, count back from that.
Jeez Louise. How is it shaping up there in EA Canada?
Fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, we got some really good momentum. We got the entire game open on the floor today for everyone to play. So all of our online modes, all of our game modes are there. All the gameplay, new gameplay and presentation, the entire thing is open. This is the first time for us we come to E3 with the entire game open. So team's really proud of where we are right now. We still got a little bit to go, but excited for the launch of 16.
Awesome. Now I have to ask the question, and it's a hard question, but NHL 15 was not well received on PS4 and Xbox One. The game was fine. It played. I thought it played great.
Yep.
But it was missing modes. It was very stripped down.
Yeah.
How did you guys deal with that feedback? Did you expect that kind of feedback when you got it from the players?
Yeah, well, we pushed really hard all the way through to the end, and then at the end we couldn't get. We knew when we understood what else we couldn't get in the game with the EA Sports Hockey League specifically. We knew that our fans were going to be upset about that, and that's why once 15 launched, we started working very, very close with our fans. We instituted a game changer program. We've got 12 people representing the community and their views. We have a live Skype chat going. They're probably buzzing in my pocket right now that we bounce ideas off of. So we went full disclosure early on. We said we understand where we're coming from with the depth and breadth. Gameplay and presentation. First of all, gameplay and presentation. If you don't have great gameplay and presentation, it doesn't matter what else you do. So it's important that we nail that right off the bat for NHL 15. And then with the depth and breadth of the game modes that we're missing, we worked with our fans and the game changers to really prioritize that feature list, what to bring back, when to bring it back, what the most important elements of those are, which ones need changing. And we did something we've never done before. We exposed our entire feature set, what we were thinking early on, to these guys who we don't have a great relationship with. It was something we were starting off, and we gave them the entire thing. We said, on Monday when you guys go home, the entire feature set might be on the internet. So, we're trusting you guys to build this relationship.
Right.
It's something we want to build long-term for the future so that we can bounce ideas off of you. As our feature set was coming together this year and features come together, Ben will hop on there and ask him about poke checking and different thoughts or different theories around how we want poke checking to work, and we get feedback in real time and leverage that feedback to make changes. So it's been a really, really great experience, leveraging our fans, leveraging the game changers to build NHL 16.
What are every year we talk about the game, and you guys always identify 2, 3, 4 features in terms of gameplay, whether it's poke checking or something like that, or it's when helmets are flying off, goaltenders' helmets flying off, whatever it is, nets kind of popping off in a more realistic way, whatever it might be. What is identified this year for NHL 16 that you guys went into, in addition, of course, to the modes that we'll get into later? But what were some of the key core hockey things that you guys kind of added into the game this year?
Yeah, so the real thing there was to not do those surface level things. We knew that we're bringing back EA Sports Hockey League, so trying to get into great multiplayer gameplay. For us back in the studio, we said gameplay balance is king, and it's always important in any sports game, but this year it was going to be prime. It was going to be the most important thing for us, and say, how can we make the game fun to play from every single position on the ice? So we looked at features that were going to complement that as much as possible. We didn't want to say, oh, we're going to bring back glass breaking and try to make the nets come off the moorings better and stuff like that. It was going to have to be about how are we going to make it fun to play with the puck, how's it going to be fun to defend the puck, what are you doing to get open as an offensive player away from the puck, and what are you going to do, even if you're the weak side defender, how can it be fun to play that position? So that really led to the feature set, which was around pickups, around skating, and then really going back to all our core mechanics as well to look at passing, shooting, the physics again, looking at hitting. We added back stumbles and making sure that that had a really nice progression all the way through so that a big power forward could actually shrug off checks, whereas maybe a small sniper that if he's not dangling well, then you're going to lay him out into the board. So that was what's going to be really important when we get into EA Sports Hockey League gameplay, and that really helps us across the whole game because our Play Now experience with NHL Stars, where that balance is generated from what we see from the real world of hockey, that plays that much better as well.
I've always wondered, as someone who played hockey, a great deal when I was a kid, all year round, and then kind of also played the video games, and always felt that they were, very different experiences. Being actually on the ice and playing the game, and you can only capture so much of the essence of it. How do you keep the game fun while you still keep the game realistic? In other words, in the New Jersey Devils in the late 90s, early 2000s, they're going to play the trap, and that's going to be awful and boring hockey, and you don't want to watch it, you don't want to play it. How do you kind of find, identify, like, you want these crisp passes, these sharp turns, these great shots in the slot, great blocking, all this kind of stuff, fluid goaltending, while at the same time keeping it fun so that it's not the more dead puck era hockey that we kind of exist in today, which I like, but a lot of people don't. Yeah. How do you kind of deal? How do you kind of? Because I like defensive and goaltending, defensive hockey and goaltending, but a lot of people don't like the 1-0 or the 2-1 games. They want the barn burners. So how do you balance the realism with the still kind of arcadey nature of NHL?
Yeah. So that's the discussion we have every single day. We always talk about the different type of players that play our game, the ones that want to really like sweat it out, and it's like a hardcore simulation. They want to see when the sticks go through, like even if they're going through legs, that they're losing the puck off of those little interactions. So if you go to get a puck in the corner, it might stay in the corner and it's bouncing around and it's scrambly. So when we look at our default gameplay, that's not necessarily a prime focus there. It's about having control of the puck, setting up the one-timers, laying the big hits. But when it gets to online competitive play, EA Sports Hockey League gameplay, we look at all that stuff and we make sure that it is a little bit more about sweating it out, and that's when those guys are having fun playing, and that's where we're getting a lot of feedback in the way that they want to play that style of game. But at the same time, we need to look back at the roots and why the game has been fun. Why is hockey translate so well to a video game? And it's because the sport itself is high-flying. There are big hits, there's fights, there is high-scoring games and stuff like that. So we want to make sure that we do represent that. And you are playing with these players. It's what is it like to play with an NHL player? The Twitch part of the game shouldn't be the divide. We want to make sure that you feel like Ovechkin. So if you're open in the slot, it isn't about whether you can do something with your thumb on the controller. If you do it at the right time, you're going to lay into a one-timer. It's going to be bar down and back of the other guy's net. And you're going to be able to celebrate in the glory and goal horn going off and all that stuff. So definitely a balance there, and I think that comes through sort of in the ratings of the players and making sure that you feel like Ovechkin and it doesn't feel like me, myself, like out on the ice, because I wouldn't be able to compete at that level.
That's the thing, though. When we talk to fans about anyone who picks up our game, they expect it to play like hockey. But you ask them what hockey is and what they think authentic hockey actually is. It's different for so many people, and that's what we have. The different game styles. Our default experience is a little more arcadey, a little more loose. People say, "Oh, well, hockey to me is fast-paced, lots of hits, get into a fight, and score lots of goals," and that's more of our default experience. And then you get the more authentic hockey guy who wants to sit back and play the trap and plug up the neutral zone. So it's really trying to nail both those experiences. And as you go more to the online, like Ben was saying, it's trying to get more towards the authenticity.
I'm curious about the modes now that we can kind of get into this. We're obviously bringing back EA SHL and all these kinds of things that you guys weren't able to get into the current gen versions of the game, but obviously the last gen versions of the game kind of remain the same. What does the full mode set kind of look like to you guys? And you feel like it's like robust enough to kind of gain back the trust you guys were talking about with some of your most hardcore players? Do you feel like when you put this game out, this is going to be kind of the robust modes and kind of the number of modes that are going to keep people engaged and excited about the game this year?
Yeah, I think, again, when we started talking about working with our fans early on, we did more research this year to understand what our fans wanted in our game, understanding like the needs and motivations of our fans as well. If they're a single-player guy, what are the things that they want to see in our game? If they're a couch co-op type of player or a team play type of guy, what are the things that they want to see to help prioritize that list? So this year, working with our fans, able to bring back the depth and breadth of our modes, our Be a Pro, starting in the CHL, working your way through Sim to Next Ship, some of the basics that were there before, but not only stopping there, adding new experiences as well. So when you're playing to Be a Pro this year, how you play on the ice with our new progression system is going to shape your character. If your guy likes to go out there and score lots of goals, gets lots of assists, set your teammates up, you're going to go in your offensive categories. If you like to muck it up, get lots of fights, throw lots of hits, your physical traits are going to grow. So it's not only just bringing back the depth and breadth of those modes, but also adding the new experiences as well. So we continue to take each one of those modes to a new level. Because some guys buy our game and they just play Be a Pro and nothing but Be a Pro. So if we neglect Be a Pro, there's nothing in our game for those guys. So we got to make sure that We understand the different modes that people are playing and what they want to see in our game. So that's why it's so important for us that we're talking to the fans every single day, getting their feedback, and we're building it with them.
I'm curious about the analytics you guys see. The beauty of these consoles, and obviously last-gen consoles too, is you can really see how people are playing your game on a moment-by-moment basis.
Yeah.
Are there any thoughts to cut certain modes that people might not be, like you guys pay attention, say you use 10% of your resources, whatever it is, to kind of dump into this thing, and you're seeing a 5% return in terms of gameplay back. Are there anything you're identifying that people aren't messing around too much with that you could say, like, let's get rid of that and make room for something new?
Well, I think it's a conversation we have every single day, whether it's modes, whether it's features, whether it's features within features, because we have a finite amount of time. We know every single year that our game is going to come out in September. And so every day we're not working on the game is a day wasted, essentially. So if we're not spending our time on the most important things, the most efficient things, the return on that time is not the greatest. So that's why, again, it's so important to work with the fans so we can dial in, we can figure out where we're spending our time. Do we need to spend time on poke checking, or on hitting, or on the goalies? Because if we're not efficient with our time, at the end, the fan is the one who suffers.
I thought you were going to jump in, I'm sorry.
No, I just agree. So like having the guys come into our studio, and like Rammer was saying, being on the Skype chat all the time, being able to throw them ideas, that just allows us to take what is already a top 10 list. We know what people want. They're very vocal and passionate about what they want. So we've got those lists, but a matter of something moving from 9 to 8, moving its way up to as it gets to 1 as we cross items off that list, making sure that we're always working on the most important thing.
The other thing with the analytics too is now we can track players and when they play our modes and be a pro. And if we see that most of the people are getting to halfway through the season and then falling off, we need to sit back and look at that data and understand what's that trying to tell us? What's happening halfway through the season that we're starting to lose people, right? So really leveraging, again, the analytics to just build better experiences throughout the board.
What about the level of granularity in the modes that already exist? One of my favorite things to do, I don't often play, I play NHL every year, but I don't play it online.
Yeah.
Probably because I'm not good enough. I like to play a season mode. I like to kind of be a GM. I kind of like to manage my team.
Yeah.
There comes a point where I'll, be Garth Snow and kind of just go, which is, good or bad depending on your perspective. Good now, probably bad 4 or 5 years ago. And kind of just manage my team, simulate the games. How deep and granular do you want those modes to go? Because I already feel like they become very deep. I remember in NHL 94, I used to keep the stats by hand on a piece of paper in a binder for everyone and use out-of-town scores to fill in the standings and be real nerdy about it. You guys introduced, obviously, in the mid-90s, your season mode and all these kinds of things, creating a player. We've come so far that things are so granular. Do you think they can go deeper, and do you want to make them deeper so you really get that GM feel, or you really get just that managerial feel in addition to being able to play the actual game?
Absolutely. We want to go as deep as our fans want us to go, but the same thing like we were talking about before. It's that balance between authenticity and how far do we want to go. If it's too detailed, you lose some of that authenticity, you lose some of the fun factor associated with it, right? So it's just getting that balance right.
And tell me a little bit about the announcing, because Doc is amazing, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. I
Yeah.
don't know where Greg's bouncing around here somewhere, but Greg's not a hockey fan. I watch hockey constantly, and he loves just listening to Doc and how he ramps up and gets excited. How was it working with Doc and Olczyk to kind of get their feel for hockey, which is so very unique, I think, compared to a lot of other announcing duos? What was that experience kind of like for you guys?
Ben's the one in the studio with them every single day, so.
Yeah. So it's amazing, exactly as you said. So the best part of the day is actually when we get into the studio in the morning before the mics are on, and you got Doc walking through the door telling us a story. That's just something you'll never forget. And he's always got a new one. I think that we could sit down with him every day, and we're always telling him, like, you've got to write a book, because more people need to hear these stories. It's just amazing. And then just his character. So we heard from fans playing the game after we put out the first time. We were really happy with the first year of it, but capturing that emotion. They're saying, you really got to nail that goal call. And so we worked on that a lot this year. We also worked on ramping up that emotion during play. So we're recognized now, whether you're pinning a team in, you have that energy, that he gets that much more excited. So I think that's just our job, to keep trying to capture that energy, because he is very unique, and that's why he's amazing at what he does, and that's why people love to listen to him broadcast games. And Eddie compliments him so well. Right. I think he's been a student being underneath Doc, listening to what it's like to be a broadcaster, and obviously brings a lot of his hockey expertise, and that's why he's in the role that he's in. And then it's the same thing for us working with Ray. It's great to have somebody so close to us in the studio, and when he comes in, he gives his perspective. And we try to do that too. It's the authenticity side of asking Ray, well, okay, you're commentating on this play from ice level, and we get more sort of the analysis side from Eddie and breaking down a play, and just getting their hockey expertise, the things that they've seen, stuff that other people will never see in terms of the experience, what it's like to be a player, and you work your way through it, be a pro season, you're going to hear from Eddie and some of the anecdotes of what it was like to play in that first game and stuff like that. So I think that even some of that commentary is really great for somebody who might not ever get an experience to step on into some of these arenas at a professional level.
Was there a list of vocabulary words that he had to use? Soccering the puck into the corner, fluttering the puck into the slot.
A little waffle board somewhere in there.
Stopped it with the old waffle board. I missed the waffle board blocker. I gotta be honest with you. It's a classy look.
Speaking of getting old.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I played goal when I was a kid, and I was just at the tail end of getting the black Vaughn blocker and all this, the wave and all that kind of stuff. And I would look back and I'm like, there's something classy about the Billy Smith kind of style of goaltending, but I digress. The other thing I'm kind of curious about with him in particular is a lot of his excitement seems to be from his own authentic surprise about what's happening in the game at the time, and that's what his ramp-ups are so exciting. Do you have to fish that out of him, or is he good enough where he can kind of fake it? Because he's obviously not watching a live game. I've always been really curious about how he comes off as so authentic even though he's not situationally watching a game.
Yeah, so surprise is a little bit different because obviously we know kind of what we're going to tackle in a day. Right. But we do jump around a lot because we want to make sure that energy is there, and we want to make sure we capture it. So we also can't burn them out. We can't sit there and, okay, let's do goal calls for 700 players in the league and capture that authenticity.
It'd be like being at E3 for 3 days straight.
Yeah. So obviously there is a balance there, but we don't script anything for them. We give them a context, and that's where sort of in the moment we can say, oh, the puck just bounced off the boards and a player came through to chop it and missed. Go. So he does sort of get kind of an element of surprise to sort of jump in and try to think of things on the spot, but at the same time, you can't quite get what it is in the real world, and that's why we just have to keep trying.
Right.
And we've tried different things like putting real world footage in front of them. Last year, Eddie was commenting on replays, and we're actually putting the replays in front of them because when it's more of an analysis, it is sort of one-to-one. It's exactly the same as they are watching a replay on their telestrator in the real world. So for us to put a YouTube clip or something like that from like a one-timer or something like that, then that kind of does match one-to-one. So I don't think that in that case it's much different. But there's obviously some technical challenges for us too. They're mentioning names of teams and players and stuff all over the place. For our audio artists and software engineers to put that stuff together and stitch it together, there's some big technical challenges there too. And
absolutely,
they've been really excited to work with us because we're amazed at what they can do. The same as what you're saying, coming in and saying like, wow, what an amazing commentary team. And then Doc worked on some video games in the past, and when we started working with him day one, he was just like, wow, it's incredible what you guys can do now. So it's been a really fun relationship for them to realize what we can do technically and trying to continue to push that bar and have them that invested. Doc will sometimes come to a new day and say, oh, I was just writing up some stuff last night, and we're like, well, you didn't have to do that, and he kind of puts it in front of us, so it's been really exciting.
Awesome. I have a question that I'm actually really interested in your answer to this, because typically teams will play in the same barn for 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. My Islanders are moving to Barclays now.
Yeah.
What is the situation for your team to have to now recreate that new building that you haven't had to bother with for a long time and discard Nassau Coliseum?
Yeah.
Do you send people to the building to kind of take pictures and figure it out, or are you just looking at video of pregame? You know, what is that situation like to kind of render a new building like that and render a new barn and make it authentic?
It's a little different per building. We've had people get in there and send drones around and take pictures from all over the arenas in some of the places. Sometimes you're getting a lot of shots off of like Getty Images and things like that for some of the nooks and crannies of the arena, because our artists go to crazy detail. You're sort of seeing the nuts and bolts of like down the tunnels and stuff, depending on some of the shots you get. We were flying around with some people, like with the game open on the floor, they're amazed at the level of detail just in the ice and sort of in around the scratches on the boards and things like that. So you definitely want to get to that and capture that, because that's what fans are after. They want to know, hey, there's this section that I sit in, or these are my season ticket seats, and there's this sign, and then they go there and they're like, you guys have that in there. Right. So we definitely want to keep surprising people with a level of authenticity that we get to. I think that when we get a new arena, or the art team kind of goes like, oh, we just finished building this one, and now they've moved to another one, but I think that it's also exciting for us because that's something new that we can put into the game. So when the real world changes for us, unlike a game where you're sort of writing the script from scratch, you're sort of waiting for those things to happen to be able to release a new level, like so to speak. So it's kind of neat when they do something like that. And Barclays is such a unique venue that people are asking us, like, is this exactly where the Jumbotron is, and is this exactly where the seats are? And we've had to do some unique things on our side, on the rendering side, because of the way that our gameplay cameras work before, and just where some of their overhangs of some of the balconies are, that have created some like technical challenges for us, not just artist challenges. So
yeah, you'll see right now if you come by and when you play it, you look going to Barclays, the scoreboard is actually not over center
off center,
ice.
yeah, that's
it's
awesome.
off center. It's interesting.
And no
Very
seats
unique.
behind one of the nets and all that. Yeah, it's so weird.
There's some challenging seats in there for sure.
Yeah. Maybe they should have planned it a little better, but I'm glad they didn't move to Kansas City, so I'll take it. All right, I'm curious about, and I know this is more of a business question, but I'm curious about your thoughts as the kind of creative guys that are, leading teams making this game every year. How do you feel about NHL as a future a platform as opposed to a game? In other words, what I mean is, well, EA Sports NHL one day turn into something that is just released and then consistently updated as one singular product as opposed to kind of a yearly sort of thing. A lot of people are asking, why buy this game every year when they can just, they'd give you $10 for the roster updates, or the roster updates are free and all those kinds of things. You used to have to put them in manually, which is the nerdy. You go through the release thing in Newsday every day and see who's released and change it around and hope your battery doesn't die in your Super Nintendo cart. We've come a lot further than that now. But is there a future for the annualized sports game going forward, do you think? Or do you think it's going to become something more unified where you pay piecemeal for updates?
I think all games are going to get there. I think that's where the future is going to be. I think how fast we get there is still to be determined. But for us, we're taking steps towards that right now. Really starting to transition to more of a live service with Hockey Ultimate Team and having promos running all the time, new content coming out with our roster updates.
Colin, it's Greg. You got 2 minutes left.
Thank you, Greg.
No problem. Love you a lot, buddy. I ate some beans a second ago. They weren't terrible.
You're interrupting Rammer here. He's trying to tell me about something.
Hey, you didn't want to wear the IFB.
I know. All right. I'm sorry, Rammer. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we're taking steps towards that, knowing that that's probably the future. We want to start driving the NHL business like a live service, make it year round, and keep our fans engaged, keep the conversation going year round as well with our fans. So we're taking the steps on the development side so that when it does come full bore, that we're ready and set for it.
And what state are the last-gen versions of the game in still? Are you guys going to be releasing those for at least this year and then the coming years, or are you going to stop support of those eventually?
So this year we have NHL 16 Legacy Edition, NHL Legacy Edition, no 16 on it. So limited feature set, roster updates, kind of the license art, things like that. And we'll see what the future holds after that.
Awesome. It's a loaded question, but on a scale of, 10 to 10, how good is John Tavares? And the answer is 10, of course, but I'll let you kind of expand on that.
You want to in real life or in our game?
No, in real life. Yeah, in real life.
He's
in the game,
Colin, nobody cares about John Tavares. I'm sorry to break news to you. You have 1 minute left. 1 minute remaining, everybody.
He's ridiculous. He's future MVP.
Yeah, absolutely.
Future MVP.
And we were talking about it before the show, but since you guys are such big hockey fans like me, the final, you enjoyed the finals, Blackhawks Lightning. You guys,
the entire play last 2 years. So Canucks haven't made runs, not playoffs last year. Knocked out the first round this year. The playoff hockey has been unbelievable. And I watched as many games as I can.
30 seconds.
As a hockey fan, so it was great.
Awesome. Greg, we're wrapping up early since you're just going to keep saying things in the microphone.
You know what? This is just the life you asked for.
It is the life I asked for. That's true.
I love you.
I love you too, but it's
These
better.
These guys are really good guests.
They
you have
are
a good
great guests.
camaraderie with them.
Oh, well, hockey fans, they can identify other hockey fans.
Do they call jerseys sweaters too?
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
10 seconds. 10 seconds.
That was a new thing to Greg, is that he didn't know jerseys were called
5.
sweaters. All right, we're going.
3.
Rammer,
2.
Ben from EA Sports, NHL 16. Bye.